When Daniel accepted the backstage tech job for the tribute show, he expected long hours, late queues, and exhausted dancers, not the uneasy feeling that crept in every time he walked past dressing room 17. It wasn't officially in use. The door was sealed, the lights disconnected. But each night, after rehearsals ended, a soft tapping echoed from inside. 3 taps, a pause, 3 more, almost like someone practicing rhythm. He blamed the old building. Everyone did. Yet the tapping stopped only when Daniel approached. And once, when he pressed his ear to the door, a faint breathy hum drifted through, so soft he thought he imagined it. The melody was unmistakable, though, the opening of human nature, sung barely above a whisper. On the 4th night, as the crew packed up, Daniel noticed something strange. The stage's center spotlight flicked on by itself, casting a warm circle onto the empty floor. Dust floated through the beam as if disturbed by movement. The soundboard showed no cue. No one was near the switches. Then, from somewhere deep backstage, in the very direction of dressing room 17, came a soft shuffle, like someone sliding on smooth shoes. Daniel froze. The dancers had left. The doors were locked. But the faint scent of cologne, warm, sweet, familiar, drifted past him like a memory stepping into the present. Daniel returned early the next evening, determined to prove the noises came from loose vents or old pipes. But when he reached the backstage corridor, he stopped. The air felt warmer, charged, like a stage moments before a performer walked on. And there, drifting faintly from dressing room 17, was the unmistakable rhythm Michael Jackson used when warming up. Heel toe, a soft slide, then a tap. Not loud, not forceful, more like muscle memory echoing through an empty space. Daniel whispered to himself, "That's impossible. He's gone." But the footsteps continued, perfectly in time with a pattern every fan and crew member knew. It wasn't random noise. Someone or something was practicing. He pushed closer. The humming returned, clearer this time, a breathy, gentle tone, rising into a fragment of a melody. Daniel's chest tightened when he recognized it. Why? The intro to Billie Jean. Suddenly the corridor lights flickered. The spotlight on stage turned on again, bright and controlled, as if awaiting a performer's entrance. A single glove, white, sequin, but dusty with age, lay on the floor just outside room 17. Daniel bent to touch it, but the moment his fingers neared the fabric, a soft whisper brushed behind him. Showtime. He spun around. No one. Only the distant echo of a stage legend whose presence never quite left the places he loved. Daniel avoided room 17 after the glove incident, but the building wouldn't let him forget. Every hallway speaker crackled at the same minute each night, 2:14 a.m. And for a few seconds, just before the static faded, he could hear a soft inhale, the kind Michael Jackson always took before hitting a delicate note. It wasn't a recording he recognized. It sounded present. One evening, Daniel found himself staring at the old rehearsal mirror in the side studio. The dancers used the newer room. This one stayed empty, still bearing scratches from shoes and fingertips. As he adjusted a light panel, he noticed something odd. His reflection was normal, but beside his shoulder, in the glass only, stood a faint outline of a man. Tall, slim, a fedora tilted low. Not detailed, just a silhouette made of shifting light. Daniel froze. The figure lifted one hand and tapped its fingers together in a familiar pattern. Thumb, index, snap, MJ's quiet backstage habit when he was thinking through choreography. Daniel whispered, "Michael?" The silhouette's head tilted, almost amused. A soft laugh, gentle, breathy, vibrated through the room, though the air remained still. Then behind him, The studio door creaked open on its own. Daniel turned. No one was there. But when he looked back at the mirror, the silhouette leaned closer, as if trying to speak through the thin layer separating memory from the present. A single word formed on the fogged surface of the glass. Listen. And then the outline dissolved, leaving Daniel staring at his own wide, terrified eyes. Daniel arrived earlier than usual, determined to understand what was happening. He convinced himself the mirror incident was stress, nothing more. But the moment he entered the dim backstage area, every work light shut off in sequence. Click, 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 until only the main stage remained illuminated, glowing like a single spotlight, waiting for an entrance. A soft hee-hee, barely audible, echoed from somewhere high in the rafters. Not playful, not frightening. More like a performer checking the room's acoustics before a show. Daniel whispered, "Michael, is that you?" His radio crackled. Through the static, a voice he didn't recognize murmured, "Positions." It was a backstage command, but no one else was in the building yet. Suddenly, the stage floor vibrated in short rhythmic bursts, not random shaking, timing, like someone marking choreography with their heels. Daniel stepped closer, and the vibrations aligned perfectly with the intro beat of Smooth Criminal. A shadow slid across the far wall, smooth, sharp, controlled, the unmistakable silhouette of a man leaning into the first beat of a dance step. Daniel's breath caught. He wasn't imagining it. Someone was performing, without a body. Then the ghost light flickered, and Daniel heard a whispered drift from the empty wings. "Don't be afraid, just follow the music." And for the first time, he understood. Whatever lingered here wasn't trapped. It was rehearsing. The tribute show's opening night approached, and the crew buzzed with nervous energy. But Daniel felt something else lingering beneath the excitement, a presence waiting for its cue. As he walked backstage, he stopped short. The sequined glove he had found earlier was now resting on a stool in the center of the warm-up room, positioned perfectly under a hanging light. No one had touched it. No one had reason to. He stepped closer, heart pounding. The glove shifted, just an inch, but unmistakably toward him. Daniel stumbled back, eyes wide. A cold breeze swept across the room, though the air vents were off for the night. Then something stranger happened. A faint figure, almost transparent, appeared behind the stool. A man's outline. Hat tilted, shoulders relaxed, weight on one leg. Not a ghostly monster. Not a horror image. It felt like the calm presence of someone who had spent years mastering this room. The figure lifted an arm and gently hovered a hand above the glove. The glove rose from the stool, suspended in the air, as if guided by invisible fingers. It tapped twice. Michael Jackson's signature cue before a dance break. Daniel whispered, "Michael, what are you trying to show me?" The glove dropped softly into his hands. Warm, shockingly warm, like someone had just held it. A whisper brushed his ear. "Remember the details. That's where the magic lives." The lights dimmed, the outline faded, and Daniel realized this wasn't a haunting. It was a rehearsal. Daniel stayed late that night, the glove tucked carefully into a drawer he locked twice. He told himself he'd imagined the warmth, the whisper, the movement, but deep down, he knew he hadn't. Something was guiding him, showing him pieces of a performance no one had planned. At 3:11 a.m., the building trembled with a soft vibration, like distant bass. The stage lights flicked on by themselves, first the left wing, then the right, then the center spotlight, forming a perfect triangle of illumination, exactly the setup Michael Jackson used during private rehearsals. Daniel stepped onto the stage. The air shifted, charged with something electric. Then he heard it, the faint scrape of a shoe sliding across polished wood. A shadow moved across the back curtain, smooth, precise, gliding into a turn that ended with a flawless freeze. "Michael," Daniel whispered. A soft exhale answered him, gentle but full of intention. Suddenly, the monitors along the edge of the stage flickered to life. No footage played, no video feed, just the silhouette. Michael's unmistakable form, practicing the opening movements of Man in the Mirror. Not a recording, not CGI. The timing was too natural, too human. Daniel followed the motions, mimicking the steps. When he faltered, the shadow paused and repeated the move slower, like a teacher guiding a student. A warm presence brushed his shoulder. "You're learning," a voice whispered. And Daniel realized something terrifying and astonishing. He wasn't observing a rehearsal. He was being invited into one. The next night, Daniel arrived with a knot in his stomach. Part fear, part anticipation. Whatever was happening wasn't random. It had rhythm, intention, pattern. And tonight, he felt it the moment he stepped inside. The air backstage shimmered faintly, like heat rising off pavement, even though the building was cold. As he walked past dressing room 17, the door, which had been sealed for years, clicked softly. Then it opened just 2 inches, slow and smooth, as if inviting him inside. Daniel froze. "Nope, no chance." He stepped back. But the faint sound of finger snapping, sharp, familiar, unmistakably Michael's timing, echoed from within. 4 snaps. Pause. 4 more. A backstage signal only veteran crew members understood. "Come here. Watch closely." Daniel pushed the door open. Inside, the room was exactly as archived photos had shown it decades ago. Black fedora on the vanity, silver tape marks on the floor, a single spotlight aimed at the mirror. It was impossible. Nothing should have been here. A soft glow gathered in front of the mirror, forming the outline of a man mid-dance, moving with the lightness Michael Jackson was known for. Precision without weight. Daniel whispered, "What do you want me to see?" The figure raised a hand to its chest, then pointed directly at Daniel's reflection, a gesture from Man in the Mirror. Then, the room filled with a whisper, echoing from all directions. "You can't honor the show until you understand the heart behind it." The light dissolved. The room fell still. But the message stayed, pulsing in Daniel's chest like a second heartbeat. Opening night arrived and the theater buzzed with nervous excitement. But Daniel felt calm, strangely calm, as if someone had already walked him through every cue. Every spotlight seemed brighter. Every stage mark felt familiar, like he'd rehearsed alongside someone who knew the show better than anyone alive. Minutes before curtains opened, the main power flickered. The crew panicked, shouting over each other, but Daniel felt a presence behind him. Warm, steady, reassuring. The backup system snapped online instantly, lights stabilizing in perfect timing. A gentle whisper brushed past his ear. "I've got you." When the show began, something extraordinary happened. During the iconic silhouette entrance, the spotlight formed a shape that none of the dancers were standing in. Tall, poised, hat tilted. The audience gasped, some rising from their seats, convinced it was an intentional effect. Daniel knew better. He felt it. Energy, rhythm, presence, moving across the stage with a performer's confidence. As the final number ended, the dancers bowed. The spotlight drifted to center stage one last time, forming the outline of a man placing a hand over his heart. Every monitor in the building flickered at once. A single phrase rippled through the speaker system. Soft, breathy, unmistakable. "Thank you." Then the silhouette dissolved, leaving nothing but the ordinary stage. Daniel stood frozen, tears in his eyes. He knew what he had witnessed wasn't a haunting. It was a final rehearsal, a chance to finish a performance Michael Jackson never got to complete. And for a moment, In the quiet hum of the emptying theater, Daniel felt something like a presence bow beside him. One last time.